start. The moment Andrew tells me we are live is when we are live. Thank you very much, Andrew. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, to this extraordinary council meeting on, where are we? Wednesday, November the 26th at Blackdown House. It seems barely 2 weeks since we were last here, and barely 2 weeks until we are here again. But there you go, coming fast and furious. Right, I am your chair for this evening, Councillor Eleanor Rylance, and I'd like to welcome everybody who is sitting here in the room and everybody who is watching online to our council meeting. Basic health and safety. In the event of a fire alarm sounding, there is no fire alarm planned, so would you please leave the building through the nearest green running man exit. The exit may be behind you. Make your way to the back of the car park. If anybody needs assistance leaving the building in the event of an emergency evacuation, please let me or anybody know who's up here. The organiser of the meeting will tell us when it's safe to return. The meeting can be viewed live online on the Council's YouTube page and is being recorded and will be available to watch on YouTube again ad infinitum. The agenda and papers have been published on the Council's website in advance of the meeting. Could everybody who is referring to a part of the document please also refer to the page number so to help everybody else orient themselves. Meeting good practice, please only speak at the chair's invitation. Please, if I ask you to speak, switch the microphone on your desk on and then say what you have to say and then switch it off again so that the next person can speak. Turn any mobile devices to off or silent right now, please. If you've not already done so, please ensure that you have logged into your microphone using the card with your name on it. If you have any problems, please do let Andrew know. Please ensure that if I ask you to stop speaking, you do so. Right, we will now start the meeting with a roll call and declarations of interest rolled into one, which will cover off item 2 on the agenda. And I am going to invite our Democratic Services Manager, Andrew, to read out your name. Please confirm your attendance by saying present and confirm whether or not you have any declaration of interest to make. If you have any doubts about whether you should make a declaration, then please refer to our monitoring officer, Melanie. Thank you. Over to you, Andrew, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good evening, councillors. Okay, so the roll call and any declarations of interest, please. Councillor Aurora Bailey.
Present, no declarations, thank you.
Councillor Brian Bailey.
Present, no declarations, thank you.
Councillor Barlow.
Present, no declarations that I'm aware of.
Councillor Blakey.
Present and no declarations.
Councillor Bloxham.
Present and no declarations.
Councillor Bonetta.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Colin Brown.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Jenny Brown.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Bruce.
Present, no declaration.
Councillor Burrup.
Present, no declarations, thank you.
Councillor Chamberlain.
Present, no declarations, thank you.
Councillor Chapman.
Present, no declaration.
Councillor Bethany Collins.
Present, thank you, and no declarations.
Councillor Roy Collins.
Present, no declaration.
Councillor Davey.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Dumper.
Present, no declarations.
Thank you. Councillor Faithful.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Fernley.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Gazzard.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Goodman.
Present, and I would like to make the following. Having taken advice from the monitoring officer, I do not have an interest in the item, but as my son is an employee of KPMG, I want to make it clear that my son has had no involvement in the preparation of the business case, that I am not in any way biased as a result of his employment. And I'm coming to the matter with an open mind and will make my decision after considering all arguments and evidence presented during the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Goodman. Councillor Hartnell.
Present, no declarations. Thank you.
Councillor Hayward.
Present. I am a Devon County Councillor and I'm mindful of the responsibilities that come with this dual role. I declare this interest in accordance with the Code of Conduct and I can confirm I have received dispensation to participate in this debate. that this dispensation only relates to the management of interests and does not override the legal requirement to avoid bias or predetermination. Whilst I've previously discussed aspects of LGR at another authority, I can confirm I have not predetermined my position, although having voted earlier at Cabinet, it might be felt that I am predisposed, but certainly not predetermined, and I'll consider all relevant information at this meeting before reaching a further decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Heath.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Hookway.
Present. My declaration is as follows. I speak today as a councillor who also serves on Devon County Council, and I am mindful of the responsibilities that come with this role. I have declared my interest in accordance with the Code of Conduct and have received a dispensation to participate in this debate. I understand that this dispensation relates only to the management of interests and does not override the legal requirement to avoid bias or predetermination. While I have previously discussed or considered aspects of local government organisation in another forum, I confirm that I have not predetermined my position. I remain open to the arguments presented today and will consider all relevant information before forming a final view. This is a significant matter for our communities, and I am committed to ensuring that my contribution to this debate is fair, transparent and in line with the principles of good governance.
Thank you very much. Councillor Howe.
Councillor Howe sends his apologies.
Thank you. Councillor Ingham.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Jackson.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Young.
Councillor Young, are you logged into your microphone? Has everybody else got their microphone switched off? For the benefit of the record,
Present, no declarations.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Present, no declarations.
Jeff. Okay.
Councillor Ledger.
Present and no declarations. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Councillor Levine.
Present, no declarations. Thank you.
Councillor Loudon.
Present, no declarations. Thank you, Andrew.
Councillor McKinder.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Martin.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor O'Leary.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Olive.
Present and no declarations. Thank you.
Councillor Parr.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Rickson.
Present, no declarations.
Thank you. Councillor Smith. Councillor Westerman.
Present, no declarations.
Councillor Whibley.
Present and no declarations.
Councillor Ragg.
Present, no declarations.
You have not done me.
I apologise, Chair. I thought I had, in my head, I had said Councillor Rylance. Councillor Rylance, are you present and do you have any declarations?
I am indeed present and I have no declarations.
Thank you very much.
Andrew.
Apologies.
It is no matter. It's no matter. Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Andrew. Are there any more apologies for absence that people know of in the room? Oh, Councillor Gazzard?
Yes, Chair. Councillors Anne and Matt Hall.
Thank you. Right. Do we have any? Councillor Martin, sorry.
Councillor Wilson sends his apologies.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, could you tell us who has given apologies? Thank you. And Councillor Wilson to add to the list.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this evening we've received apologies from Councillor Paul Arnott, from Jess Bailey, from Ian Chubb, from Anne and Matt Hall, Councillor Sam Hawkins, Mike Howe, Stuart Hughes, Richard Jeffries, Tony McCullum, Cherry Nicholas, Henry Riddell, and also Dan Wilson. Thank you. And Simon.
Councillor Martin
Sorry, Councillor Vicky Johns sends her apologies.
Thank you.
and Councillor Jackson.
As does Councillor Smith.
Thank you very much. That's Councillor Vicky Johns and Councillor Simon Smith. Thank you very much, everybody. Agenda item 3, public speaking. There are no public speakers registered to speak. Agenda item 4, matters of urgency. There are no matters of urgency on this agenda. Agenda item 5, announcements from the Chair of Council and it will be Deputy Leader of Council. Right, so my only announcement for today is I have no idea how many questions there are going to be coming. I don't know whether it's going to be lots of questions or not very many questions. So what I'm going to do during the debate today is ask you to, I'm going to take blocks of 3 questions from 3 different people. If you hear an answer that satisfies you enough to your question and you don't need to ask the question that you have lined up, please don't ask it, because we would like to get home before midnight, some of us. So if you're satisfied by a previous answer, please don't feel you have to ask the question. Please only ask questions that offer new material. So with that in mind, we're going to move on to agenda item 6, which is confidential and exempt items. There are no confidential and exempt items on this agenda. Agenda item 7, we go straight into our substantive matter, which is about local government reorganisation. And I'm going to hand over for this to Councillor John Loudon, who has been leading on it, to present the report and his recommendations. So Councillor Loudon, please, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, colleagues. It's nice to see a very full chamber, so it's pleasing and reassuring. Bear with me. Obviously, we will be asking Andy Wood, Director of Place, to give a presentation to you around the issues under consideration. But I feel that as the lead member for LGR, I want to try and just set the scene. And a big apology. Those of you who are here for Cabinet, I apologise. You will have heard some of this before. But please, I beg you, do not fall asleep. Do not feel the need to get up and walk out and stretch your legs. So just bear with me, if you will. So, this council's been on a challenging journey since the government published its English devolution white paper in the middle of last December. This has taken us from identifying initial ideas of what Devon's future local government landscape could feasibly look like to a situation where you're here today and you're being asked to decide on this council's preferred proposals. And if you look at the calendar as I did, this has all been undertaken in 242 working days. That is at some pace. The circulated Cabinet report, which I'm sure everybody's read, sets out the milestones and decisions that this council has made during those 242 days. You will note that throughout this time, Cabinet, Council and members have been kept abreast of LGR developments and progress. Indeed, this engagement has empowered officers to work collaboratively alongside their colleagues in the 6 other district councils and Tor Bay Council in developing council's ongoing preferred LGR model. This council's, indeed the cross-district consensus of the original working assumption that Devon could be structured within a 4-5-1 model has, through research, evidence, analysis and evaluation, been demonstrated to be the one that, when considered and taking full account of the government's 6 reorganisation criteria, comes out as the future local government shape and structure that would best serve Devon's residents and businesses. I contend that this is fully evident from the full 299-page proposal document that we and the other 6 district councils have produced as our Reimagining Devon, Believing in Better proposal. And that is precisely what this council and our colleagues in other districts have done. We have reimagined Devon without geographic or organisational bias and without political partisanship, because we genuinely believe in better. Because we all want to believe in better, all the districts put aside local one-upmanship and political point scoring. We've demonstrated through unity of purpose and the pooling of each council's experienced professional officers as well as using data that all 11 Devon councils collaboratively shared, we can and have developed a future Devon-wide local government model that will deliver better services, unlock investment and provide each area of Devon with stronger voices. This, I contend, is truly reimagining Devon. I believe that because of the work over this year that our officers and those of the other districts in Torbay have undertaken, we have delivered a robust and convincing set of arguments and evidence in support of the 451 model. Indeed, it's demonstrated that the 451 plus model, which you'll hear more about later on, I'm sure, is the most favourable option. This 451 plus model would build upon the base case of 451 and would, if the Secretary of State were to use his discretion, be the best of all options for Devon. The detailed work supporting reimagining Devon has been supported by the strong work from Pixel Financial Management and KPMG Management Consultancy. The latter's involvement has been most helpful as they have utilised their experience of working on various LGR submissions elsewhere in the country over recent years. KPMG is also currently working on half a dozen or more other submissions elsewhere, and this has helped us to sense check and validate our proposals and our supporting evidence. Frankly, both organisations' involvement has been key to doing all of this. Our Reimagining Devon proposals addresses the government's 6 criteria, otherwise known as the exam questions, and applies these to how future services could more efficiently and effectively be delivered and structured. But Reimagining Devon goes beyond that, because this government also wants us to embrace devolution. This would mean having an elected mayor through whom wider strategic and economic benefits would be unlocked. Back in July, you'll recall that this council, along with all the other 10 Devon councils, advised the government that it was embracing this approach to local government in Devon. Our Reimagining Devon proposals provides the most balanced of all the proposals of all the proposals that any Devon council is putting forward under LGR. This approach not only supports a unitary structure that is balanced, but it would also facilitate a broader, balanced approach across the Southwest Peninsula that could deliver a mayoral strategic authority. The proposed Reimagining Devon unitaries would be able to sit alongside such an MSA in a proportional and coherent way. I strongly believe that the 7 district councils, until most recently Torbay, having worked diligently and collaboratively to develop a shape and structure for this county's local government, demonstrates several things that no other of any Devon submissions do. And there are 3 things I identify here. Firstly, better forecasted financial savings, and this is something that the Treasury will be very carefully looking at. Secondly, there's better councillor to electors ratios, and this is important for maintaining democratic accountability and local links. And thirdly, better unity of purpose across and amongst all 7 district councils. This shows that by working collaboratively and purposefully, we can reach better outcomes as opposed to doing things on our own. Reimagining Devon is that collaborative outcome. Other Devon councils' proposals don't have the strength of such non-political broad collaborations. I therefore invite Council Chair to recognise that the Reimagining Devon proposals that are before it have fully met the LGR brief that the government set all Devon councils earlier in the year. I invite Council to recognise that Reimagining Devon delivers against the mandate that this Council gave officers and to me previously. On that basis, I invite Council to accept the report before it, remind you that Cabinet met earlier and has made recommendations, supportive recommendations of 451 plus to Council, and I therefore formally propose the recommendations before you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Loudon. I believe there were a couple of tweaks, were there not, to the recommendations?
they are as set out online.
Okay, so, yeah, so I'm looking at
You were,
an
you were,
old
you were
version.
thinking back to the cabinet.
Yeah, so Mel would like to come in, monitoring officer.
I'm so sorry, I just do need to clarify that the Cabinet has made resolutions, but they are subject to endorsement by council. So, and we've not made any further changes to the recommendations since the ones that were circulated on Monday. Okay.
Thank you, thank you. So, right, with that in mind, so Councillor Loudon has put for your approval these recommendations. Is anybody minded to second them? Before we go into, oh, Councillor Barlow, is that you being minded to second them?
Yeah, happy to second, Chair, and I will reserve the right to speak till a bit later, if that's all right.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barlow. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we have recommendations that are now proposed and seconded. Our CEO Tracy is here and Andy Wood are here to answer any questions you may have. And we are now going to move into debate. So, as I explained earlier, what we're going to do is I'm going to take questions in blocks of 3. So please ask me one question, even if you have masses of questions to ask. I'm going to take them in blocks of 3 and we'll answer them in blocks of 3. And then if later in the debate you want to come back because you don't feel that your other sets of questions have been answered, then I might come back to you. But I want to get as many different views as possible from as many people in the room as possible. So with that in mind, we have, our first hand up was Councillor Faithful. Councillor Faithful.
Thank you, Chair. Have we considered extending the, what do we call it, North Devon, whatever we call it, our area, around Exeter to extend, because some of the communities around Exeter are right on the edge, and if we stick to the Exeter city boundary, I would have thought somewhere like Exminster, I don't know what their community would think, but it would be illogical to extend in that sort of way, slight variation beyond Plymouth.
Right. Do I have 2 more questions? Thank you, Councillor Faithful. Councillor Collins? Okay, and then Councillor Burrup.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to know how many of the present staff at East Devon have positions would be lost if we do this 451, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Burrup?
Thank you, Chair. Of course, grateful to Councillor Loudon for his introduction. He said that council have, the Cabinet have recommended changes. What are these and how would these impact the recommendation facing us now? Shouldn't we hear what these recommended changes were?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Burrup. So I think we'll take these in reverse order. I'm going to go to Mel first. Mel, can you confirm what the changes were, just in case people are looking, like, as I am, looking at an old version?
There are no changes to the recommendations to council.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
thank you.
there are no changes.
There are no changes, sorry. So there was just 2, sorry, Chris, come back in.
Thank you, Chair. That sounds ridiculous, I'm sorry. This recommendation has been to Cabinet, they have debated it, they have come to a conclusion, and we're not allowed to hear what that conclusion is for the purpose of this debate. That just sounds ridiculous to me, sorry.
So, shall I read out what was agreed by Cabinet? That might then help members. So, subject to full council endorsement, Cabinet approved the submission to the Secretary of State of the full proposal for the 451 model of local government reorganisation as set out in Reimagining Devon, Believing Better, as the council's response to the Secretary of State's invitation. They approved proposing the 451 plus option to the Secretary of State through a modification to extend the current boundary of Plymouth City Council to incorporate parts of 4 adjacent parishes in South Hams. They invited full council to endorse the above proposals to the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government, so hence why there's no changes to the recommendations in front of you. They delegated authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Deputy Leader to submit the proposals to the Secretary of State by the deadline of the 28th of November. And they delegated authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Deputy Leader to progress work for the implementation of local government reorganisation. So those were the recommendations supported approved by Cabinet, subject to this full Council's endorsement, which is the recommendations that are before you today.
Councillor Loudon, please.
Sorry, Councillor Burhup, if I said something that was misleading, it wasn't meant to be. Just to reinforce what the monitoring officer said, the recommendations, the 5 recommendations that Cabinet approved earlier on, had 3 word changes to what had been in the published and printed agenda for Cabinet, and that, just for clarity, so that you're clear, is in the second bullet point, which starts supports, and I think it was then changed to approves, and then in the 5th bullet point, in the second line, it has the 2 words initial preparatory work. They were deleted. So what in essence was approved by Cabinet was what had previously been circulated and is accessible through the Council agenda. And if I've caused confusion, then I genuinely am sorry.
Or indeed, if I have caused confusion, I also apologise. Right, Councillor Collins's question, how many members of staff will lose their jobs? And Councillor Faithfull's question, a different scenario entirely. I think I'm going to possibly hand to Andy. Are you able, or shall I hand them to John?
I can, I might need to bring Simon in chair as well, around. But I can certainly answer Councillor Faithfull's one. And I'd probably just emphasise that the legislation requires the existing building blocks, so existing district boundaries, to be used as the basis for proposals. So the base case, the 451 model, uses those building blocks fundamentally. In front of you is also the 451 plus option, which anticipates a change to the boundary of the existing Plymouth City unitary to incorporate parts of 4 parishes that are currently part of the South Hams district, but are identified within the joint local plan for Plymouth, South Hams, West Devon as areas that will accommodate planned urban extensions, including the Sherford Newtown going forward. And so as part of the analysis of options, the watchword was balance, about how do you strike the best balance across the 6 criteria. And so as a part of that work, the most balanced option was seen as being the 451 plus option. And hence that's the recommendation to you today. That has not included or consideration of specific detailed changes to the Exeter boundary currently.
Thank you, Andy. Simon, over to you.
Thank you, colleague. So it'll be for the new authority to determine the structure, the staffing structure going forward. But in terms of the business proposal, the business model put forward, there have been broad assumptions made in terms of staff savings, in terms of leadership, in terms of right fit. So those percentages taken off the £2.2 billion spend across Devon are contained in the appendices, the various assumptions applied against various strands, whether that be staffing, as I say, leadership, including councillors within that total, but things like assets, IT, all those various elements of costs have been worked through in terms of what the costs at districts, what are the costs at the unitaries, what the costs at county, using that base data that was talked about in terms of we all agreed on the same base data, then working through. And this is where KPMG came in very strongly in terms of looking at other models that have been put forward, other cases been put forward. The 7 chief finance officers looking line by line at those various headings where savings should be attributable, what be practical, but then looking at the national picture, looking at KPMG's benchmarking, and we also use Pixel to come out with what's sensible in terms of savings across all those lines, which did include staff, but it was a percentage rather than a number of staff. And then what we took from that, as you can see in the proposal, is we took 7.5% off just to bring it down in terms of whether we were being, just want to be extra prudent in terms of our numbers. So that's the numbers that are in there. That's the savings that have been attributable. But I haven't answered your question direct because that will be a decision for the new authority.
Thank you, Simon. Tracy, you're happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Nothing to add. Okay. Right. Questions. Oh, Councillor Davey, please.
Thank you, Chair. I understand we worked with Torbay on part of developing the 451 model. Were Exeter and Plymouth invited to also be part of those discussions? And presumably if they were, they said no thank you. Could that be confirmed, please?
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Are there any more questions for the time being? Oh, Councillor Goodman, do you want to put one? Do one of your list. Go on then.
Yeah. In February, the previous government minister, Jim Mahone, said, we expect there to be different views on the best structures for an area, and indeed there may be merits to a variety of approaches. Nevertheless, it is not in a council taxpayer's interests to devote public funds and your valuable time and effort into development of multi-proposals. Could we have done more? Should someone have done more to have had less than 4 proposals?
Thank you, Councillor Goodman. Is there one more question before I turn these over? Councillor Bruce, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to leave this to a little bit later, but maybe it won't come up, and I apologise if it's in the information that we have. It's regarding the weighting of the 5. I would be interested to know how the weighting of responsibility goes when we include Exeter with the otherwise rural areas on this particular map, and how much influence they may have as a collective over that particular grouping. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, councillors. Right, Councillor, I think we'll just take them in order. Councillor Davies' question. Who would like to pick that one up? Yes, please.
Andy might want to add something, but just picking up on the question around Torbay developing the 451 model, was Exeter and Plymouth able to come into that discussion? Just to make it very clear, at the beginning of this process, all 11 authorities in Devon, the chief execs and the leads for local government reorganisation, political leads, met to discuss how we were going to move forward. As part of that discussion, we agreed a data source, i.e. the data and the statistical information that we would all work from to enable us to draw together and pull up our proposals and work through those proposals. So Torbay and Exeter and Plymouth and the county were all in that room. That data warehouse was put together and used by all of the authorities as part of this process. However, the 451 was the proposal that the 7 districts, boroughs and Torbay were very keen to progress, and the other 3 local authorities were very keen on progressing alternative models. So Torbay worked with the 7 districts, boroughs, through to actually about 3 weeks ago. They had said right from the word go that they were very keen, their residents were keen on Torbay first, but they could see the benefits of the 451 and they wanted to support us with strengthening our case and ensuring that we had the first tier authority, i.e. the adults, children's services, view and experience and technical knowledge in the room when we were pulling together the 451 model. So their case studies and information and technical input was included and is still within the 451 proposal.
Thank you, Tracy. So I think possibly Councillor Goodman's question might also be for you. Could we have done more? I think I can probably anticipate the answer to that one. And Councillor Bruce's question, what of the rural voice? Could we have done less work? I thought you said could.
Not just us, it's everybody. Should the whole of Devon, it's not pointed at Andrew, but could the whole of Devon done more to come up with less options? Sorry if I didn't put that right.
I think I might pass that one to Councillor Loudon, actually.
Well, thank you, Councillor Goodman. There is always more one can do. That would be foolish to say otherwise. However, if you look around at the rest of the country, I'm not sure we're that different to what's going on elsewhere. There are many counties around the country where there are multiple submissions that have gone in. Now, it would have been fabulous, wouldn't it, if we were all as Devon, all 11 councils, able to come behind the same outcome. But there's a range of different things come into play when each authority looks at it. The one thing I would say to you is, if you think about it, there could well have been many more submissions from Devon because there's 11 of us. I would say to you, we have done incredibly well to create a collaborative process that has involved the 7 districts, and that unity has stayed there throughout the year, and as the Chief Executive said, until only a few weeks ago, and we knew it was coming. Torbay was part and parcel of the discussion, the conversation, the shape of what we were talking through as districts. So I would turn it around and say, I think there's been some real positivity out of this. It would have been great if we could have had Plymouth, Exeter, County, as well as Torbay, if they could have all seen life through our lens, but regretfully we didn't manage to do that. So I'm really, really pleased that we have got 7 districts going to their councils with the same proposition, and I think that's a real positive, and I hope you would concur with that.
Thank you, Councillor Loudon. Councillor Bruce's question about the rural voice. Who would like to pick that? I think Andy, you'd like to pick that up, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. So in terms of weighting, the simple answer is there is no weighting in terms of councillor numbers between urban and rural areas. The same ratio in terms of councillor per electorate has been applied across the board for the 5. So that includes Exeter and obviously some deeply rural areas up into North Devon as well. So it's the same ratio. So there is no weighting in that respect.
Thank you, Andy. Questions. Oh, Councillor Westerman, please. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, I'm curious to know how future savings were arrived at in spite of uncertainty of the future structure, or was it just a finger in the air?
2 more questions? No? Oh, Councillor Goodman's finger is poised. Who do we have? Okay, Councillor Goodman. Is it a short one?
It's really
a long one?
taken on what's just been said. Look, there's been a number of plans of unitaries right up and down the country. And all the plans I've seen, it shows a 1 unitary saves more money than a 2, and a 2 saves more money than a 3. What I don't understand is why our proposal of 541 saves 508 million, yet the 991 model saves 224 million. I know we've employed different consultants, but they've all given us different figures. And I see this as quite crucial because it's a big difference.
Thank you, Councillor Goodman. Is there one more question? Councillor Dumper, please.
Yeah, I'd like to ask whether or not the term and the concept of natural communities, i.e. county, town and village, were considered within the whole structure of this, or whether the government's rules or their exam questions, so-called, ruled that out.
Thank you, Councillor Dumper. I think Tracy, do you want to take Councillor Dumper's question first? Or Andy? Okay, Andy, please. And then we'll go to the financial questions. I think possibly Simon may have some answers there. Andy, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I think in response to Councillor Dumper's question, so it has been a really important consideration around identity, community identity, and obviously there are, across a very wide area, over 6,000 square kilometres, there are, intrinsically different communities who very strongly feel part of different areas. And it's been really clear. For me, it's been really interesting going back to some of the previous questions to get out and go and visit. I think we've been around every single district council office in Devon, and just to be reminded of the scale. So within the proposal, we've sought to take account as far as possible, and there is a specific criteria around community empowerment and engagement here as well, around the qualitative aspects to that, around identity, culture as part of that, travel to work, and some of those kind of metrics that kind of map across to how people live their lives as well. So that very much forms part of the analysis, including the options analysis to try and define what we mean by, functioning geographies, how people lead their lives, and how that leads to that sense of natural communities.
Thank you, Andy. Simon, 2 financial questions.
Thank you, Chair. So picking up the finger in the air question. So if you look at the detailed proposal, it's page 138 of the full proposal. There's a list of assumptions, and they are assumptions that were made over the savings to come into our proposal. And they go through the various elements, as I've explained, ranging from the leadership. So the leadership to right-sizing the organisation, to corporate services, assets. And although the question asked about, if you don't know the exact number, the structure of the new organisation, how do you work out the savings? But they do come from those areas. It's based on, so if you can imagine just joining 7 districts, you've got 7 chief finance officers, 7 chief execs, you've got monitoring officers, you've got IT systems. So there will be savings that you can pinpoint in terms of bringing those together in just sort of efficiencies, but also reduction in costs in IT, in staffing, etc. So you can go through and work through all those various elements and make assumptions on what savings can come from that. We did this through sort of a bottom-down approach, but also a top-down approach, but also bottom-up. So although we were working with KPMG looking at what the national picture was, if you look at those headings we've taken where savings can come from, they're very similar to other business cases. So we were looking at those headings, looking at KPMG in terms of benchmarking, and also we used Pixel, who are well known in this area for benchmarking as well. Use that analysis, taking what would be the norm to come from just creating bigger organisations, if you like, but also that local knowledge of those chief finance officers sat there, knowing their districts, knowing the services, and working with Torbay, knowing their services. We worked from the bottom up as well to make sure that this actually looked practical and achievable. So they are assumptions, but they are based on very sound principles.
Accounting assumptions, it's informed assumptions, isn't it? So Councillor Goodman's question.
So yes, different numbers in different cases across Devon. I can obviously only put my name to the ones that are on your papers tonight, in terms of being heavily involved in their production along with other chief finance officers, and also test checking with all the various chief execs as well in terms of testing our numbers. And as I say, the work done with KPMG and Pixel. If you look at a comparison of the other proposals, which I think you have, Councillor, payback periods are very similar. Implementation costs are higher in our model. And the savings are higher in the one in front of you. The county proposal, 911, is at the other end of the spectrum in terms of savings. If you say savings, if you're spending 2.2 billion, what proportion, what percentage of savings can you make? Our base case is at 3.5% savings. our stretch cases at 5.7. The 911 is at the lower end at 1.3% of savings, which is, you could see as quite a low number. The others are closer. They're in the middle and closer to ours. But I can only answer questions based on our proposal tonight. That's as far as I can go, I think, Chair.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you. Right, questions, more questions. Councillor Mackinder, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Loudon said one of the strengths of this 451 proposal is that all the districts are proposing effectively the same thing, although they might, I guess they call it slightly different things. Are they also proposing the 451 plus? The reason I ask that is it feels slightly uncomfortable if we're recommending slicing bits of another district away from that district and bits of those parishes transferred to a city. How do the council concerned South Hams feel about that? Are they also on with this? I know there's some working together over planning between those areas and Plymouth already. Can you just confirm that we're all the districts are proposing that same option should the Secretary of State be interested in going that way?
Thank you, Councillor Mackinder. Are there any more questions? Oh, Councillor Bruce.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I know one of the questions that's going to be asked of me when I sort of rock up at my parish meetings, and that is what is going to happen to our parishes? And if they're going to morph into something else, do we know what kind of responsibilities they're going to be handling? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Councillor Faithful.
Thank you. There's a few parts to this question. It's about redundancy.
Well, can you keep it? Is it possible to keep it to one part, or is that?
It's where they can't really. It's all one. It's about redundancies. Assume there will be redundancies. Will officers who are finishing district, will they transfer over, or will they be all made redundant? And who will foot the bill?
I suppose that would be an operational matter, but I mean, there's trooping, isn't there? Right, okay, so I think we're going to go to answering Councillor Mackinder's question first, which I think I'm going to turn over to Councillor Loudon.
So, yes, I did say very strongly and repeatedly the word collaborative, because I think it's a really positive thing, regardless of where we end up. I think it's a positive thing. So, each of the 7 district councils is receiving the documentation that you've received. The base case is for 451. Now, within that, and I'd have to look to one of my colleagues to tell me the page, there is the final outcome of the evaluation of the criteria, which then showed 451 plus just slightly nudged ahead of, on the left, 451, and on the other side it was, I can't remember what letter it was, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I think it was, having to go through the alphabet, which was a 442 from memory option. So all of us are taking forward the 451 model for different reasons. Some of our colleagues are willing to take forward 451 plus. Others are slightly more reticent. They have perhaps local sensitivities that they perhaps also have to balance up. And therefore, sometimes in life you have to be pragmatic. And I think there's at least one council is going to be more pragmatic by just going for the base case 451. We took the view, and by we, I'm talking about myself and a colleague, the officers as well. We took the view that if we were being honest to the process and what this was telling us, we had to come tonight and say to you, yes, it's 451 as the base case, but we believe also the data is showing us that 451 plus just gives us a little bit extra, collectively gives us a little bit extra. Therefore, that's why we would be inviting the Secretary of State to use his discretion in order to apply that, because it would mean some boundary changes around the outside of Plymouth. So that's my layman's interpretation. I'm looking to my colleagues to tell me whether or not that's correct. Yes.
Andy,
and in terms
are you
of
going to say anything or concur or no?
Only to agree, Chair, absolutely.
There you go. They're such a good team.
Collaboration on the top table as well. Well, that's reassuring.
So-
And then I think Councillor Bruce was asking about parish as well.
Oh, Mel was wondering about whether she's
yeah,
done some work on
absolutely.
this. She might pick this up. Mel.
Very happy for the Deputy Leader to answer. I mean, the simple answer, this does not impact on towns and parishes in the sense of they remain as a structure. Towns and parishes remain. This is only about the district and the county council function and structure. So that's the very simple answer on that.
And finally, Councillor Faithful's question about redundancies. I think Tracy's going to pick that one up.
Absolutely. I mean, as Simon has said previously, the structure of the new authority will be determined by the new authority, but all staff within the existing authorities will be tupied across to the new authority.
Simon, you want to add something?
And just pick up the finance element of the question in terms of the cost of redundancies within the setup costs. A proportion has been allowed for assumed redundancies in the model, and it'll be picked up by the new authority in terms of the cost.
Thank you. Right. Questions. Councillor Rickson and then Councillor Heath, and then that was Councillor Heath. I don't know if there's a third question. Okay, and then Councillor Barlow. Okay, Councillor Rickson, Councillor Heath, Councillor Barlow, please.
This is just kind of a follow-up to Councillor Mackinder's question about expanding boundaries, because I note on page 36 of the document, it does say the 451 plus proposal also suggests a minor council boundary adjustment at the northern end of Dartmoor to further simplify administration, ensuring the national park is wholly contained within a single council area. Does that presumably mean that Dartmoor will stay with all of Dartmoor? It will include another town, like perhaps Oakhampton? Is it expanding up that way? Is that going to be within the 4 rather than the 5? I don't understand where this, the implications are.
Do you want to pick that one up now, Andy?
Yeah, it's a very good point. So there's a quirk that a very small part of the Dartmoor National Park area is actually currently also within Mid-Devon. And so I think that the reason behind that text is to ensure, and this was a resolution, I think, from Teambridge yesterday as well, that the entirety of the Dartmoor National Park area should be within the confines of a single unitary, if that makes sense.
Does that answer, Marianne?
I still don't know. Does that presumably mean it goes with the 4, all of it? But what does that include? What extra does that include?
It'll be the. Andy, can you answer that? This is quite a technical question now, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be, in essence, the proposal is that the entirety of the Dartmoor National Park area is contained within the 4, so the Torbay and Southern Devon unitary, and it will be the very small part, and I apologise, I don't have a map available, but it's a very small part of Mid-Devon that is currently also within the national park boundary.
Thank you, Andy. Right, who else do we have? Councillor Heath, please.
Thank you, Chair. I note that the 5 proposed unitary authority will comprise East Devon, Mid Devon, North Devon, Torridge and Exeter. That's a massive organisational and geographical challenge. Has there been any discussion about how a unitary covering such a large area can work? Thank you.
Thank you, John. Right, who's a... I think I'm going to take Councillor Barlow's question next.
It's not really a question, I suppose. It's more of my views. So we voted back in March for the officers to go away and look at 451. We didn't ask them to look at 911. We didn't ask them to look at the other things, but they have looked at those as well, I know. But we asked them to do that, and you're being asked today to basically endorse what we asked them to do. Now, we might not have all agreed, even I didn't agree at the time, with what they were suggesting. However, we work on collective responsibility. That's what we asked them to do. That's what they've gone away to do. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see how we can really vote against what we asked officers to do. We might not agree with the overall what's happening. We might not think it's going to be for the best for Devon. We might not think there will be any savings. We might not think that our residents will be better off. However, this is what we asked officers to do. This is what we were asked by the government to do, which is what we responded to back in March. Look at 451. That's what we did. So that's the reason that I will be voting for this evening. I would ask, and the other thing is, of course, when this gets put through, even if we don't put it through for whatever reason tonight, the other districts will that are doing this, this option, plus the 911 from Devon, plus the one from Plymouth, plus the one from Exeter, and then the government will decide what we want to do. And until July comes, as I said, I really hope we don't spend too much time. I understand there has to be some basic things that will be changing, but I do hope we don't spend too much time. And what my ask is, for all of us, is that if we truly want devolution, which is what this is supposed to be, that we do try and do community asset transfers to the local parishes, to the people, so that they actually can make the decisions on the local things. So if you want to put any amendment to this, I would suggest that you just ask that we concentrate as much as we can on making sure that the assets, the things that people find important, parks, gardens, toilets, not adult social care that will be taken care of by the new unitary, not special educational need that will be taken care of there, but things that really annoy people are, or going to annoy people if they're not done, like Somerset and other unitaries have done, is that we actually concentrate on doing that in the very limited time that we will have left. We only are going to have less than a year to do that. So that would be my ask of them, but I will be supporting the officers on this because I don't see how you can't support what you asked them to do in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. I'm quite certain that that is not what anybody is thinking. So just to be certain, that was your intervention a second ago, wasn't it? Right, I'm going to turn Councillor Heath's question over to, it was such a long time ago. It was Andy, wasn't it? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I think it's important to emphasise that the government's guideline for new unitary authorities is for them to have a population of 500,000 people. And it is only a guideline, but in Devon, with a mixture of both urban areas, but also coastal and dispersed rural communities, this is what it means to get to 500,000, which, you know, the 5 area is just over that kind of threshold. You know, it is you know, there's no denying it. It's a vast area. You know, to travel from Axminster to Hartland Point, you know, is, you know, at least a couple of hours. And therefore, I think, you know, within the confines of what the government is wanting to see, which is very consciously to shift the size of unitary councils upwards and beyond the 500,000. And bear in mind, there's very few of those nationally currently. That's, you know, the choice, you know, or the criteria we've been given, essentially. I think within that, it becomes really critically important about how that then operates, the design choices that the new authority will need to make around office bases, depots and other things, and about how those services are then delivered. There are aspects within the full proposal that go to the heart of this as well, around things like neighbourhood area committees, how you structure planning committees, for example, going forward, but also around local community networks. And how that provides a bridge, if you like, between a unitary authority, which is going to be up here compared to the existing districts. And we've been very conscious, I suppose, in putting those proposals together to make sure we think we've got the right model, but not to put forward a template that says it has to be this way across that very big geography. It's about, you know, in terms of implementation, if this option is chosen, it's about then working up those proposals that best, in a way that best suits the localities, because they'll all be very different ultimately, and it's trying to respect that diversity in terms of how population is distributed within a very big county area. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Right, Councillor Burrup, you had a question, I think.
Thank you, Chair. So Simon referred to Appendix 2 of the full report, the financial technical appendices, as sort of a guide to where our savings are coming from. And there is indeed a very helpful couple of tables in that report under Appendix or Annex A, Methodology and Assumption Log, Annex B, Savings Assumptions, and Annex C, the Implementation of Cost Breakdown. Annex C lists a number of categories of costs that are likely to be incurred. And again, they're given percentages of the total cost rather than numbers themselves. And I appreciate that. Those sum to 100%. Annex B gives a number of areas of savings assumptions that sum to 118%. I would strongly suggest, I know this is in the public domain already, this document, but I would strongly suggest that there's a typographical error in here at best, or a calculation error at worst. So could that be addressed, please? Thank you.
Right, which page are you talking about, Councillor Burrup?
Well, that's a good question, because on my report...
275?
It's
275?
Yeah, it's on page 275 of the full report.
Yes, I've got it in front of my eyes. So where is your typo?
It doesn't sum to 100%.
Okay. Right, I don't know who to pass that over to, probably Simon, maybe?
Can we take that away?
Maybe it should be taken away.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, yeah, thank you. Right, yes, John, Councillor Loudon.
Not to dismiss the point that Councillor Burrup's just made, but I do genuinely know that the number of eyes and the number of times eyes have been over these 299 pages and their additional documents have been huge, and something somewhere was always going to slip through. I am confident that we haven't got an accounting error. He says, putting his head on the chopping block. I'm sure it's somewhere along the line there's been a transfer. When someone's taken numbers from A to B, it's ended up.
Can I come back to that?
Yes, please do.
Sorry.
Let's use your forensic eyesight.
I absolutely have empathy with what Councillor Loudon has said, and the enormous amount of work that's gone into this. I'm sure it's a typographical error. It's simply that this will be poured over by a number of people, and we don't want to undermine the confidence that this council has in the figures that are being pushed forward, particularly when 58% of the savings are said to have come from getting rid of these pesky councillors and the costs associated with running these pesky councillors, as in democratic services. So, anyway, that point is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burrup. Do you want to come in, Simon?
Yeah, we will take it away and check, but I did pick this up myself. I think what it is, but let me confirm, I think it's the percent of the totals that have gone into those areas in terms of costs, that there are the percentage savings against each of those lines. So I don't think it's meant to come to 100%, but I will confirm that.
Thank you, Simon. So will you email us all when you know? Thank you very much. So there'll be an email coming out about that. Right, next up we have Councillor Young and then Councillor Faithful, please.
Thank you, Chair. There's many ifs in this. If in the 451 plus proposal goes through, unlike other district councils, Exeter City do not have parish councils. How will Exeter people be represented if this proposal goes through in this sort of super parish city council? Also, how soon could that be set up once the 451 is agreed. And the final part of the question is, will the city still retain its Port Authority status following this unitary council changes?
Thank you, Councillor Young. Have you, you don't want to come in anymore? Oh, you do? Oh, you do? Okay, come on then. Councillor Faithful, please.
Slight change of subject. How will we be promoting this? Like, will we be in touch with Spotlight or other television channels and things? And I mean, it's nothing worse than spending all this work and you put a consultation out and half a dozen people reply. So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Faithful. I think given the slight complexity of Councillor Young's question, I'm going to stop at 2 for the time being. I'm not quite sure who to turn it over to because it's more about Exeter. Andy, are you able to formulate any answer to this?
The answer is yes, Chair. I was just going to guide members to page 235 of the full proposal, which is entitled Preserving Exeter's Civic and Ceremonial Role. Absolutely, there's a challenge that the city is currently unparished. There are other ceremonial aspects, including a Lord Mayor, which it's very important in terms of the identity of the city that is also preserved going forward. And there are some initial proposals there, and I say initial because that's quite deliberate not to, again, put a kind of, a stamp of something that must happen, but to, some initial proposals that preserves the charter trustee role. I think I've also seen reference within the City Council's documentation to undertaking a community governance review as well. So there are ways and means of managing that scenario, which are in part set out in the full proposal in front of you.
And do you have any opinion on the sting in the tail, the Port Authority question?
My simple take, Chair, was that all of the kind of statutory functions, such as that, will novate across to whatever unitary authority then covers that particular area going forward.
Thank you very much. Right, Councillor Faithful's question. Struggling to remember what that was now. Oh, how are we promoting it? And also consultation as well, yes. John, do you want to pick that one up?
I can, and I don't know whether I go to Chloe as well, but let's just tell you what we have done so far, Councillor Faithful. So this is not for consult. This document goes to the Secretary of State. So that once the government will put it out for consult. Well, we'll put something out for consultation. Whether they put ours out for consultation, who knows? We're putting this in so that we try to influence Secretary of State to put this out. The government will then determine the shape of the future statutory consultation. And my understanding is that they would be undertaking that. Having said that, what we have done so far, and we intend to continue, is that we have created, if you like, a brand. So we've called it Reimagining Devon, Believing in Better, quite deliberately, because that's what we're seeking to do. We have set up a website. If you recall, what day is it today? Wednesday. Last week, we sent out an email, councillor update to all of us. In there was a number of links, pointing you to a number of things relating to this submission document. One was a wonderful video I have to come back to, and I do hope you've shown it to all your children, your grandchildren, your parents, because wonderful, wonderful video promoting this. The serious point is what we have also done is we put out a press release on behalf of all 7 councils. We followed that up here. Andy and I had 45 minutes with the local democracy reporter, and we have created an article, I don't know what you'd call it, an opinion piece for submission for inclusion in the local press. We've created the website on behalf of all 7 district councils to support this proposal. working on the assumption that at some point into the new year, we are anticipating, hoping that the Secretary of State will look favourably upon this so that it becomes part of his consultative process, and therefore we will be then adding to all of that. We had anticipated, hoped that we might get some publicity, as you say, spotlight, etc., around this. But I suspect, and we discussed this on Monday, I suspect that because we have taken a positive approach to promoting this, whereas others have perhaps been slightly more argumentative, maybe, that some of the news outlets haven't necessarily seen this as being something that is newsworthy. So I think if we'd gone out and we'd decried County, Plymouth, Exeter, Torbay, and said what rubbish it is, ours is wonderful, etc., then we might have got some airing. That's not our approach. Our approach is to be positive about this and to believe that this is as robust and appropriate. So we will continue to keep the website going and to add to it. Oh, and there's also FAQs. But I don't know if I've missed anything, Chloe.
Are you logged in? Oh, we have a small technical issue, but Chloe is going to maybe give us some more info about publicity. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, yeah, okay, we're good.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, John, I think that's an absolutely perfect summation of where we are. Also, whatever comes forward in terms of the consultation next, we will promote that and make residents aware of it as much as we can in order to get their input. We don't know what that consultation will look like yet, but when it comes through, we certainly will be promoting it. And we will continue to work in that collaborative way with the other districts.
It depends how many. Does anybody else want to ask any questions? No? Okay, go for it, Peter, go on.
But the thing that bothers me is this coast and country proposal for a lot of our area, and the way that rural communities are going to get a pretty raw deal because they're losing out. They've got a huge area to cover, and all, you know, the normal way infrastructure works, it feeds into places like Exeter and Plymouth and the bigger towns. And if we've got to go to Tiverton or somewhere like that, if you try using public transport, it's impossible. So I think we need to push that message across as well, not just say we're doing a wonderful job. We do need to say something about what we're getting dumped if you don't get this, because I think people need to be aware of that. Thank you.
Councillor Loudon, I think that's probably a question for you, isn't it?
I hear what you say, Peter, and I think obviously we'll reflect upon the points that you've made. The difficulty we've got, and I think Andy touched on this in one of his answers earlier on, is that the government expects us to create unitaries of around 500,000. And therefore, by their very nature, and given the size and shape of Devon, we have no choice. If we want to meet the government's objectives and criteria of trying to meld together a number of different authorities. But I absolutely take the point that you make, and I think again it was partly given in an answer earlier on, that the whole issue of rurality has been part and parcel of the discussions that have gone on, because it is totally accepted and recognised by all 7 districts that whilst we have economic drivers that come through places like Plymouth and Exeter, we also have to make sure that we support and look after our rural communities, our coastal communities. You know, Devon is so diverse. It would be so much easier if we were, I don't know, Birmingham City Council, you know, the Greater Birmingham area, to be able to look at that, because it's urban. But I take your point.
To me, the thing is that this Plymouth, Torbay and Exeter, it leaves places like Salcombe and Kingsbridge right out. It's almost cut off by the one of the options. And it's like, how on earth can you make that work? It's ridiculous. Anyway,
I think we just have to hope that Secretary of State also sees the particularity of Devon. Councillor Bailey, please.
Thank you, Eleanor. I mentioned this at the Cabinet, which is about an hour or so ago. And the point I'm trying to make is that this criteria set down by the government fits a large city in a large area, but it doesn't fit Devon. It's a country area. And therefore, to get the numbers right, you're putting people from here, there, and everywhere. You're going to have no central hub, as we have now. And the whole thing is, I think, is a retrograde step. I really do. And I can't find myself agreeing with the whole principle. Thank you.
We are where we are, though, unfortunately. Right, are there any more questions? Councillor Goodman, please.
On March the 19th this year, Councillor Arnold, as EDC leader.
Can I ask you to stop right there, please? That is not part of our agenda today. No, we will not be asking that question. Right, any more questions, please, that are actually about things that are on the agenda?
Chairman, this is about his view as the leader. Okay.
Right.
That's crazy.
Could I please ask if there are any more questions? Councillor Parr, please.
Yes, I'm looking at page 118 out of 151 of the full proposal. And I'm looking at the diagram of the various levels of...
Helen, that's page 234 in the big document.
Thank you.
Okay, page 234.
Yes, I'm looking at that diagram, and it shows the various layers of democratic whatever, and it's, I think, illustrates what is going to happen to the rural areas, where you see that town and parish councils and parish meetings are there. They are sidelined, actually. There's a very small arrow that feeds into something, this local community networks. And those local community networks are going to have, are they going to be elected people? Is it going to be funded? I think it is going to be funded, but they're going to have no decision making. And then you see layer upon layer of other bodies that are going to replace us. How can we have any confidence that the residents who are right there at the bottom, and all this very small writing saying that they've got links to various voices, and then large arrows of devolved decision making coming down towards us, how can we believe that this is going to improve democracy?
It's a good question. I'm going to pass it over to Mel, who has done a lot of work on parishes.
Yeah. So what you're seeing in there are proposals for both area committees and, as you say, local community networks. You're absolutely right that local community networks are not necessarily, they're not decision making. They're tried and tested in many areas. So they've got them in Somerset. They've got a similar thing in Cornwall. So they, you know, they work in some parts of the country. Obviously, it depends how they're set up. And what we're very clear about here is that if our proposal were to go forward, then we would very much need to co-design how those look like, what they prioritise, what they deal with those partners who would be part of it. So it would be your towns and parishes, your police, NHS, those sorts of bodies, local organisations. but obviously one size doesn't fit all. So it will be very much about looking what works for individual areas, because clearly one part of Devon would be very different to what the needs were of another. But I mean, those arrows are showing that unitaries can feel very, very far away from communities. So by having area committees, by having local community networks, it enables local communities, towns and parishes to be feeding up through that process. And that's why those arrows are showing that devolved decision-making coming downwards, but very much communities feeding up through those local community networks and those area committees. I hope that answers everything.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Parr?
Well, I think it confirms my view.
I'm sure those of us who represent rural areas will have similar concerns. Right, are there any more questions? Councillor Blakey, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think that pretty much everybody in this room, given the choice, would prefer not to have been involved in this exercise at all. But the fact is we've been given no choice. The government have insisted that we examine this. I feel that the time for extended debate is now over. We're working on a very tight time frame. And could we please get back to the agenda and put the question? Thank you.
So we have a proposal that the question be put. Is that people agreeing with the question being put? Yes. Okay, all right, fantastic. So if you're feeling as though we have had enough time to ask, Councillor Olive.
Apologies, Chair, and forgive me for my insolence, but we haven't had a debate yet. We've just had an hour and 20 minutes of questions. Could we have a debate before we put the question, please?
Well, this is true. Do people want to debate? Do you want to say one thing in a not too long time? I mean,
I'd take as long as it takes.
Yes, that's what I'm rather afraid of, Councillor Collins. Can we make it less than 4 minutes, do you think? Is that possible?
That's the point.
I know, and people are asking for the question to be put, and I think there is appetite in the room for that to happen, but there's also appetite for other people to have a debate. So we can have a little bit of a debate, but we have had an awful lot of questions and talking already. And I'm not trying to railroad anybody whatsoever, but I am trying to remind you that we're not choosing, we're not making this happen. We're only being asked to send this up to the Secretary of State. So, Councillor Collins, would you like to say something, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I feel that you're just heading for disaster with all this. I shall not be voting for it. I told you last year, my family, my great-grandfather, he fought against the setting up of the county council in 1885, which was wrong. Now, we've moved on, obviously, many years, and I clearly remember before East Devon when we had urban councils, borough councils in our towns and rural areas. East Devon took over in 1972, it came along, and they came in 74, I believe. And we had all these suggestions then, and a lot of things happened. In Honiton, we had the Fairfield House, which became East Devon's housing offices. Other towns had various offices before they extended Sidmouth and put up all the new buildings down there. It was promised at the time things would stay local. The old rural district council, which met in the high street where the job centre is now, that was kept as an information office, and people used to go in there and report things if they wanted public seats painted and different things like that. So they'd go in there and see Mrs. Hitchcock, and that would happen. Now, but it wasn't very long before East Devon built a central office at Sidmouth. Everything was pushed to Sidmouth. And that's what will happen now. This building will be gone for sure. It won't be here. These area committees, East Devon set that up. They used to have area planning committees when everybody had a chance to sit on the planning committee for their area. And they'd done these plans, but that didn't last very long. That was gone. Local representation has been very difficult. No, I shall not be voting for it because I think you're heading for a disaster. And I think the Local Government Association have let all the councils down because they should have rallied together and challenged the government. Like the farmers have this week. You've seen them on the news. They've been protesting about the inheritance tax. That we should have got together and done that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Olive. Well, I have you on my list.
I was objecting earlier to the lack of debate, Chair, sorry, when people were griping. I don't wish to speak at this time.
Are you still objecting to the lack of debate? Right, Councillor Wibley.
Thank you very much. First of all, I guess, a little bit of debate, councillor to councillor. I think, Roy, we all agree with Councillor Collins, we all agree with quite a lot of what you said, in that none of us want to do this. You know, things probably shouldn't be as they are right now, but in terms of the way that you're not going to have any local, you know, smaller sort of wards with representation where, you know, you can actually get to know a small part of your community and actually work for them, that will all go. We all know this, you know, and we have all said in various ways to various people, we don't like this, you know, but what are we to do? What are we to do? We're here today. We have to make a decision. I mean, I personally think in terms of democracy, if we have, you know, 5 choices for the Secretary of State to choose from rather than 1 or 2, that has to be better. That has to be better. It's, you know, we've given them every opportunity to make the best of what we don't really want or agree with. The other thing I would say is, bearing that in mind, with all respect to Councillor Olive, I'm not actually sure what we'd be debating here, because it's kind of a fait accompli, isn't it? It's something that, as Councillor Barlow said, we've all arrived here having set you off on set the officers off on a task to do something. You've done that. We either agree with that or we don't, but I'm not sure what we'd actually be debating. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wibley. Councillor Bethany Collins and then Councillor Brian Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, Councillor Wibley has covered sort of most of what I wanted to say, but with respect to Councillor Roy Collins and my ancestry, going back however many years, and as Councillor Wibley said, we don't really want to do this, but we have to put forward a proposal so that we show up to our residents that we've tried to work in their best interests. And at the end of the day, if we didn't put something forward, then something's going to happen to us. And so I think we just need to suck it up and kind of just get on with it and make the best out of a bad situation, really. So I'm happy for the proposal to be put at the appropriate time.
Councillor Heath, did you have your hand up? So I think you first and then Brian Bailey.
I did, Chair, thank you. I just wanted to make an observation. I'll try not to keep this too long because I'm aware that these debates can go on too long. In the consultation document, call for Unitary to deliver services to people in Devon from the devolution and LGR and Devon County Council, I note that they write under paragraph 6, a Devon Unitary Council will provide continuity in critical services such as children's safeguarding and adult social care, avoiding the disruption and risks that would be caused by breaking them up under separate unitary authorities. This is of interest to me because unless there is a complete review and regeneration of social care in Devon, using models of success in other local authorities designated as outstanding, we will continue the very bad performance, because DCC is one of the worst performing LAs regarding social care in the entire UK, if indeed not the worst. That's not the fault of the current administration in DCC, but they have a duty to try and put things right before, you know, we move to become a unitary authority. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. Councillor Brian Bailey and then Councillor McKinder.
Thank you, Eleanor. I think we've been up and down the block on this, around the houses, in and out the fields, and I personally would like to call for a vote, if I may, because I think we've thrashed it to death and we're going round in circles. And as Joe summed it up quite eloquently, and I agree entirely with what Joe said. So what's the point of carrying on discussing this? None at all. There's only one decision to make. So that's...
So some people have an appetite for carrying on saying things and some people don't, and I do get that. And I think there's a lot of disquiet out in the community about this change that's coming. And I think our residents deserve a little bit of a debate at least, and for people to express the views that they are hearing. So I am going to carry on with a little bit of a debate, but I also am hearing the frustration about the fact that we can't ultimately change this process. Right, Councillor McKinder.
Thank you, Chair. I think when we're debating this, what we should really be debating is, do we think as councillors here that this proposal is the one that we should submit to central government or not? If we decide not to, then I think we're remiss in our duties, because we're now saying to our residents, look, we can't make up our mind what we're going to do in response to this request from central government to produce a plan, and we're just going to let central government do whatever they will do to us. As Councillor Loudon's already said, once we submit this document, along with the various other councils in Devon, it's up to the central government to decide what they're going to do with it. But I think we need to consider that what is the best thing we can do for our residents, and I think that is to put a sensible, cogent plan to them that central government might, we hope, pick up on, because whilst we don't necessarily want this reorganisation, it's going to happen, and we need to prepare for that. And I think this is a very well-crafted document which gives central government a good steer as to what would work for Devon. So I will certainly be voting for it, and I think that's we can't debate whether central government should be doing a reorganisation or not. We're not central government, but we can decide what we as a council are going to do to represent the interests of our residents and responding to the request from central government. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that very wise intervention, Councillor McKinder. Councillor King, please.
Thank you. Can I just commend Councillor McKinder for such a succinct statement? I think it's very clear. Whilst I sympathise with Councillor Collins and the background, I think it's very important to bear in mind that that doesn't really come into it, I'm afraid to say, for this decision that we have to make. It's as if the train has left the station and so much of the debate is about getting off the train. We've got to stay on it and see it through to the conclusion in the best way we can. And I think the staff have put together a fantastic job. And so we need it, we need to support it and drive it home. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Westerman and then Councillor Faithful, you haven't spoken in debate yet, have you? Okay, Councillor Westerman, please.
This might be simplistic, but can't we at the end of it say we don't agree with this, just to let the government know?
Is a question. Are you able to pick that up, Tracy? No. I mean, we are. I mean, I'm tempted to say we are where we are really, and we've been devoting so many resources to this over the last year, and so much energy has gone into it that, yeah. Councillor Faithful, then Councillor Davey, and then Councillor Olive, please.
Thank you, Chair. At the meeting that we had, group meeting with Andy, and one thing that I brought up then was about the original proposal was splitting Devon into two. So there's a Plymouth and South West, and Exeter and North East. And looking back at what we've had put forward from Devon County and things like that, personally I think Devon, the Plymouth, the two rather than the three unitaries would probably be a better option, because you've got the strength of Plymouth with all the social services and that side of things, the expensive part, whereas what we're putting together, I'm not sure how. I mean, Torquay has been helpful, but I'm not sure that that is as sound as having the two. But I mean, it's a bit late now. But I mean, I did say that, and is there a way that we can make that as at least inform the Secretary of State of that, even if this doesn't actually come into the document here?
As you say, it's not going to come into what we do this evening, because what we're being asked to do is either approve or not this particular document, which has to be submitted by the 28th. So no tweaking possible at this stage. It's this or nothing. I suppose there will be a dialogue ongoing. So, you know, which we can all formulate ideas for in the future. Councillor Davey, please.
Thank you. I'll just echo what Councillor King said, because I meant to say it earlier. Thank you, officers, for the fantastic case that you have put forward here. I think it's a well-produced document, and it just reinforces what I have felt from the start, that 451 was the best model for Devon. I won't say anything about the other models, but one of them seems like a land grab and another one seems like business as usual. You can take your pick which is which. I think while we're berating the madness of transferring to a unitary authority, we have to remember this has happened in a number of areas in the country. And whatever we think about unitary authorities, they do exist and apparently they function. So while we are saying, well, it just wouldn't work, I think we have to remember that there are places where it already does, so that's obviously wrong. From the outset, as I've said, 451 made sense to me, and everything I've seen since then has just strengthened that belief. It's possibly not the ideal solution, but I can't see a better one. And it seems to make sense to centre rural authorities around a city where we have Exeter, Torbay and Plymouth as the economic drivers. And the other models that I've seen don't seem to make the same kind of sense in having that economic driver within them. So I have no hesitation in supporting this, and I'm very happy to vote for it, and I suggest we get on with it as soon as possible.
A couple more interventions and then I'm going to move to a vote, I think. And I think we've heard enough of a range of views. Councillor Olive and then Councillor Burrup, and I'm afraid Councillor Dumper, unless it is absolutely groundbreakingly new, then we're going to move to a vote.
It was
Councillor.
new, Chair.
You've got approximately 10 minutes while I make up my mind. Councillor Olive.
Well, I'll see if I can shorten that 10 minutes for Tim, just to help you there, Chair. Firstly, I want to pick up on something that Councillor Westerman said, actually, in terms of putting a grumpy note at the end of the document that we don't really want to do this anyway. Can I suggest, possibly, Councillor Westerman, that the Labour government probably know that already, seeing as they failed to put this in their manifesto when they were elected at the general election in July 2024. One would surmise that's possibly because they thought we probably wouldn't want it happening to us. The second thing I wanted to say, Chair, and I'll say it briefly because I said it earlier at Cabinet, but I think it's important. We've got stuck into the weeds quite a lot this evening in the questions that we've heard and the limited discussion that we've had afterwards. And I think there's an important point of principle here about why this is the option to put forwards. And that's going back to somebody, I think only once has mentioned that this is supposed to be about devolution. There's a fundamental principle there that I think is really, really important, and that is that we are making decisions as close to the people who it actually affects as we can. The reason that I think this option, the 451, is better than the others within the constraints of the financial questions that we have to ask is because it will lead to decisions being made closer to the people that they affect than the other options will. Really, very simply. And for that reason, I'll be supporting the recommendations in front of us this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Olive. Councillor Borup, then Councillor Dumper. And Councillor Dumper, you can be the last person.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief. I'd like to also put on record that I commend the excellent piece of work that has been undertaken by all concerned officers, councillors from multiple authorities that has been subject to the government's criteria. And, you know, we have been told what to do. To continue Councillor King's analogy, the train has left the station. It's for us to decide which destination station we want to try and arrive at. And this is you know, what we have now done. We kind of made that decision in March, and therefore, you know, this is the exercise of submission now. We either do or we don't go with this. That's the binary options. There is no other. I do share Councillor Davies' optimism that this has been done elsewhere. Unitary authorities can work, be successful. There's a huge amount of work to get to it, and I know, you know, members of our executive team have been party to authorities that have gone through this transformation, and they'll know how much work is involved. But they'll also know that genuine benefits can arise. I'm sure they'll see that mistakes were made in the past, and we can hopefully learn from other people's mistakes. It's my favourite quote of all time, is it's useful to learn from one's mistakes, but it's a good deal less painful to learn from other people's. And you know, that's something that we could, as a combined authority working with other district councils, employ and generate benefits to our residents. So there are savings to be made. I absolutely see that, but I would like to move that we go to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Borup. Councillor Dumper, takes away.
Yeah, briefly, there may be people around this room who are against unitary authorities in practice. I am not one of those, and I will also be supporting the excellent work that's been done and vote for this proposal. The new point that I wanted to make, Chair, was whether or not we are able to make any comment on the mayoral proposals at the moment, because of course that is supposedly the devolution. It's been an article of faith within government for the last 35 years or so that mayors, elected mayors, are the way to go. It is my contention that that is the opposite of devolution, and I think we should all consider our position on elected mayors. Thank you.
That's a question that we're not really considering today, so that's a question, a future debate. Okay, right. So we're now going to go to a vote. Now, can I remind you that what you're voting on are these two recommendations, which are that we submit this model in front of you, the 200 and something page document, to the Secretary of State, and that we endorse the next steps in terms of progression of the work by the Chief Executive in consultation with the Deputy Leader. Those are the two recommendations. So Councillor Barlow, is it crucial?
But just when we have the vote, can we make sure we have the camera on the whole hall so that people can see what the vote is when they're looking from outside, please?
Okay. I will see if we can make that happen. Can we make that happen? So if I switch my microphone off. So if I turn off my microphone, if everybody else has the microphone switched off, we get the view of the whole room. Okay, all right. So with that in mind, we are going to move to a vote. So if you are in favour of these two recommendations as set out in the cover sheet, would you please raise your hand now? Thank you. If you, oh, hang on. If you are against these recommendations, would you please raise your hand now? And if you wish to abstain on these recommendations, would you please raise your hand now? And that is very clearly carried. Thank you very much. I know that our Deputy Leader has a few words that he wants to say before I release you. Deputy Leader, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies, colleagues. I'll try not to keep you too long, but I feel now that we've made the decision, and I wrote this before I knew what the outcome would be, but now that we've made the decision, I'd like to just briefly turn my attention for a couple of minutes to two related matters. Firstly, a few thank yous, and then secondly, just briefly to what comes next, because this is not the end of our LGR and devolution journey. So firstly, to the thank yous, and I must acknowledge the hard work, leadership and diligence shown by the District and Torbay Council leaders, chief executives and their senior officers. Sorry, Brian, am I? No, it's all right, I just need to stand up. Okay. Okay, and their senior officers during the past year. They played vital roles in developing and producing the Reimagining Devon proposals. And earlier I referenced the unity of purpose that they've helped to create around LGR. And I have to say that just cannot be underestimated. As part of the group that's worked on the Reimagining Devon proposals, I must also pay tribute to the work and wider LGR expertise that Jordan Orchard and all of the team at KPMG brought into the process. And I would say they truly did make a difference to what was before you this evening. And then finally, in terms of thank yous, I must pay particular tribute to the hard work, expertise and advice that our ELT officers brought to this process. Indeed, they showed collective and individual leadership throughout, and you've seen that again this evening. So it's a big thank you to Tracy, Mel, Simon, Catherine. But I also must single out Andy, because these proposals would not have got to this position without his vision, his knowledge, his expertise, and his leadership across the project. And that cannot again be underestimated. But here, and forgive my indulgence, I must also thank my wife Jackie for her understanding and support. You may laugh, you may laugh. The poor woman hasn't had to do any cooking for 30 years. In the last month or so, she has had to relearn the skills that I took off of her. And she's watching tonight, so I really must pay tribute to her for her support through this. And then finally, and bear with me, this is the very last couple of paras. As I've said, we're on an LGR and devolution journey, and others have said that in here tonight. The next part of this starts with, once we've submitted our submission to the Secretary of State, and I think Andy talked about that, and that's got to be in by Friday. We have both organisational and political work ahead of us as we navigate this council towards becoming integrated into a future unitary authority. And although we may not know the shape of that authority, we know that we must transition into one. So there will be further updates and decisions that Cabinet and Council will need to make, at least until there is a puff of white smoke from the MHLCG offices in Whitehall probably next summer. So I'm afraid it's going to be a little bit of a continuation of this journey. So finally, a real thank you to my colleagues, officers in the LT. They've created and helped create a really great document that I think the Secretary of State will have to take notice of. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Andy is going to say a few words as well.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I really appreciate Councillor Loudon's words there, which I know will be hugely appreciated. It's been a massive team effort. I did also, though, just want to really thank Councillor Loudon for his guidance, his leadership and his diligence. It's been a huge amount of work. I know he has ploughed through the kind of the drafts of the document, so you can imagine going through 300 pages. I think he mentioned that his wife Jackie banned him from his phone recently on Sunday evenings and other things. So I don't doubt the amount of work and and the way that John has approached that has been hugely significant from a partnership perspective as well. So huge thanks to John as well.
Thank you very much to everybody involved in this process. And I'm now closing the meeting. Safe drive home, everybody, and thank you to everybody who's watching online. Goodbye.